16th to go. Gamine on the inside. Here comes Swiss Skydiver. She Dares the Devil running a big one too. Gamine has lost the lead. She Dares the Devil is in front. Swiss Skydiver runs at her. Gamine is going to be third. She Dares the Devil. Swiss Skydiver. She Dares the Devil in a huge upset.
And welcome back to one more Breeders' Cup preview here on Racing Rundown. Today we're going to be getting into the Juddmonte Spinster at Keeneland for 3-year-old fillies and mares upwards going into that 5- and 6-year-old range. We've got 6 horses going to the post here, and there are major Breeders' Cup implications on the line for this race, as there are always. 6 really talented horses. We'll get into all of them like we do always. And the first horse we're going to get into is Cosa. She's coming out of a good 4th place finish behind Monomoy Girl in the La Troyenne. Cosa's been running against some of the better fillies in this division throughout the year. Monomoy Girl in her last start. Prior to that, second to Dunbar Road in the Delaware Handicap. She was 5th in the Apple Blossom, where she was beaten by CC and Ollie's Candy. So she has been running against good horses this year and does carry some nice form into this race. I don't think she's a use on top here, but I do think she's a very interesting play underneath. She's 15-1 right now, the longest shot on the board. If the odds stay at that or go even higher than that, absolutely use her. Like I already mentioned, she's been running well against some of the best fillies in the country. The La Troyenne effort was not that bad. She was second to Dunbar Road. Good placings in the Apple Blossom and the Azeri. We know she's even beat by Serengeti Empress. We know what Serengeti Empress has done this year. So lots of good finishes for her. Hasn't gotten the job done in terms of winning, but definitely use her underneath here. I will definitely be heeding that advice. And getting to the number 2 horse in this race, Ollie's Candy. Maybe the most talented horse in this race, but definitely the most hard luck horse and also the hardest trier. 2 seconds and 2/3 this year. All of those coming in Grade 1 company. Ollie's Candy's been very good. We know that Ollie's Candy is a super talented filly. She was 4th in the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year. She's been running super races this year. She's just not been able to find the winner's circle. The Apple Blossom, she ran too good to lose there. She also ran too good to lose in the Ogden Phipps. Just got nailed late. Also, really good effort for her in the Clement Hirsch behind Fighting Mad, who did lose this past weekend, but I think that Fighting Mad is definitely a better horse than that effort showed in the Zenyatta Stakes. And Ollie's Candy definitely does sport a really good resume. And she usually, if you look at her, she usually does have one big win each year. That was the Clement Hirsch at Del Mar last year. Hasn't gotten her big win this year, even though she has been very good. This could be the race where she gets that done. Moving on to number 3 is She Dares the Devil, the Kentucky Oaks winner. Definitely a horse that a lot of people saw some good in underneath. She's a very talented filly, and I think everyone underestimated She Dares the Devil going into the Kentucky Oaks. I know both myself and my co-host, we used her underneath in the Kentucky Oaks, but I don't think anyone foresaw that effort that she ran, running definitely the best race of her career against 2 really, really stellar fillies in Gamine and Swiss Skydiver. The Preakness is being run on Saturday and this race on Sunday, so if for some reason Swiss Skydiver wins the Preakness, then you can take your money to the bank with She Dares the Devil. I would bet all of my money on her if Swiss Skydiver were to somehow win the Preakness. That would just show how incredibly talented of a filly that She Dares the Devil is. Regardless of that, I do think She Dares the Devil is a really talented filly. I'm just not sure if I'm ready to pick her here yet, but She Dares the Devil, I would definitely respect you if you did that. Did run some good races in Grade 3 company in the Honeybee and in the Indiana Oaks, and the only race that she lost this year in Stakes company was when she was beaten by the aforementioned Swiss Skydiver and Venetian Harbor, who is also a Stakes winner and will definitely get some consideration when it comes to her Breeders' Cup race. So She Dares the Devil obviously deserves to be the favorite for this race with the effort that she turned in the Kentucky Oaks, and if you really like that Kentucky Oaks, definitely go for her here. I would not disagree with that angle at all. And moving on to our Super Freak, who is the next horse that we're going to get to, coming out of a 3rd place finish in the Chuvie at Saratoga. Bit of a layoff for her, not super concerned by that. 2nd in the Molly Pitcher behind Horologist, who has really turned around since the trainer changed to Billy Mott, as we talked about that with the Beldame Stakes, and she was 5th in the Inside Information to round out her 3 starts this year. Definitely has gotten better with those 2nd and 3rd starts of the year. I don't think that our Super Freak is a use on top here, though. even though I did have some nice things to say about her just now. Don't think she's a use on top here. You can make a case for using her underneath, but I think that there are a couple more talented fillies in here that you could use instead of her. Getting into the next horse in this race, number 5, is Valiance, who earlier in her career was an undefeated filly running on the grass for Todd Pletcher, did win a black type, the Open Mind, at Monmouth to round out 3 for 3 to start her career. Does have a couple starts in stakes on the dirt. Was the first one of those came this year when she was 4th in an off the turf stakes at Gulfstream, the Powder Break. That was her first start on dirt, so you can give her a pass for running 4th in that race. Was well beaten in the New York Stakes. Did win one more race at Colonial Downs on the turf, but is coming out of a win in a dirt stake at Monmouth. So if you like the angle of, second start on dirt with her, maybe she found something that, the Powder Break first start wasn't really prepared for it. Was prepared for the Eatontown at Monmouth, won that race. If you like that race, then maybe you can justify picking her. I just have not really been the biggest fan of Valiance since she disappointed in that New York Stakes, so I will be passing on her in here, but the angle is there if you do like her. And we're getting now to the final horse in this race, Lady Kate, who I think is the toughest horse in this race to look at. Really, really good efforts the last 3. A win in an allowance at Churchill, a win in the Groupie Doll, and a second in the La Troyenne behind Monomoy Girl. And that was a really good second for her. Prior to that race, she was 7th in an allowance at Churchill, 5th in the Hurricane Birdie, but I think that though she's definitely proved that she's better than those races. She is definitely a use underneath in here for you. She isn't going to be the most generous of price. That's why I really do like Cosa, but if you're purely trying to pick the race based on the most talented horses, she's definitely the horse that you don't want to leave out. I am not necessarily going to say that she's a pick on top here, but I think that she is a really, really strong candidate to run a good second or a good third in this race. So I definitely see the angle to go there with her. So now that gets into my picks for this race. I did pick Shedaresadevil on the podcast, so I am going to stick with that, even though I do think that, like I highlighted, some of the other fillies can run a really good race in here. Going to throw Ollie's Candy in there underneath for second. I just think that, you can't leave Ollie's Candy out. She always runs a bang-up race. For third, I'm going to use Cosa just to find some value with Lady Kate in there for 4th. But if I were to just purely pick it based on the horses that I think are the most talented, it would be Shedaresadevil, Ollie's Candy, and Lady Kate for 3rd. But because of that, I'm going to put Cosa in for 3rd to kind of get the value. Throw Lady Kate in on the bottom for 4th. Fully expect Lady Kate to run a bang-up race in there, though. So that's not me disrespecting her at all by not including her in a top 4. Anyway, that's it for this video. We will see you next time. And if you do decide to play this weekend, good luck, and we will see you later.